Welcome to a new episode of The Simpsons Did It. I'm your host, Steven Skolansky.
And I'm your co-host, Robert Skolansky.
In this episode, we're all going to hell.
Whoa. Maybe.
Hell. Hell. We'll get into why I like saying hell a lot.
Because this double hockey sticks.
Sure. Does this one have to be explicit? If we keep saying hell all the time?
No,
Probably.
I don't think so.
Maybe. I'm not sure. So this episode, we're going to be talking about Homer versus Lisa in the Eighth Commandment. And for those of you who went to Sunday school, hopefully you know what the Eighth Commandment is.
We'll get into that.
Marge didn't seem to know any of the commandments.
I think I knew all the commandments.
Just not in order?
Nah.
Yeah. So the air date for this episode was February 7th, 1991. And our recap, after learning hell is the price for stealing, Lisa would rather go to heaven than watch pirated TV.
And I think we're going to get into this a little bit. Now that we're in the year 2020, pirating cable is probably not that big of a deal anymore.
And honestly, I don't remember pirating cable really being the biggest deal in the 90s, but maybe it was.
I mean, 91, I would have been 4, you would have been 8. We probably didn't even care.
No, I mean, we got cable. We got cable in our house, so who cares? Yeah. But for all the people that didn't have cable, like you really can't remember people just getting it. I mean, people used antenna if they didn't have cable, and
yeah,
I don't know. I guess I don't know when like the movie The Cable Guy came out, because that was about stealing cable too, partially.
Yeah.
And so,
Cable Guy was more about a crazy guy.
But yeah, the crazy cable guy.
Free cable to Matthew Broderick, but
that's similar to Homer Simpson getting free cable for $50.
But it's not really free.
I know, right? Well, it's stealing cable. You're just paying a guy to give you the cable.
That's true.
So, couchboard gag.
Couchboard gag?
Yeah, the couchboard gag. It's the new thing on The Simpsons. But it's also called the chalkboard gag, too.
Yes.
I will not make flatulent noises in class.
Flatulent.
And my guess is, that's what I said, flatulent.
There you go.
My guess would be either hand under the armpit.
Yep.
Or 2 hands against the face. Either way, both are funny.
Either that or, actually farting in class.
Some people, I guess, maybe be able to do that on command, but I feel like making flatulent noises was just Bart, doing the thing, getting your hand
10-year-old boy, that's what they do. We did that all the time.
Absolutely. This is definitely perfect, I think, for a chalkboard writing. We always talk about if Bart deserves it. I'm sure in the middle of class, I'm sure teachers absolutely hate it. Miss Krabappel was like, no, I don't think so. And so, detention, write it on the chalkboard, get over it. So, the couch gag this week was another repeat. Yep. The Simpsons do the Egyptian dance and then flop on the couch, do the arms out thing.
Boy, they're really digging deep into the repeats here.
Well, I think this was the first repeat of season 2, or maybe the second, but I feel like all the couch gags have been pretty original through season 2 so far. But this is just over the halfway point for season 2, so they're like, I'm done doing couchboard gags. Repeats the rest of the way. We'll see if it's actually the rest of the way, but
you said couchboard gag again.
Wow. It's one of those days.
It's one of those days.
Just to let you know, we're recording right now post-election. About 2 days.
Brains are fried.
So our brains are very fried right now. So you'll hear
but
this
episode to be fair, this couch gag actually does a fairly good job of leading into our story.
It does. So the episode opens up at Mount Sinai in the year 1220 BC. Now, I don't know if that date is 100% accurate. I
never looked it up. It's The Simpsons. I got to imagine that it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's got to be close. I mean, it was definitely in the ballpark of when Moses came down with the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
So I do like that this is the very first episode that goes into the deep past, kind of ancient times or have you. I mean, the Simpsons do make, not every season, but a lot of times, even in the brand new seasons, the 15 to 31, they
Yeah.
do have episodes that go back in time to
Oh yeah.
whether it's Caesar,
Grease.
Bible, stuff like that. So this
Yeah.
is the very first episode we actually get where they go back into history and,
I like to
Homer.
point out that the Simpsons didn't do it because they didn't predict the Ten Commandments.
No, no, no. I don't think they did. But but
But
I
rest
do.
assured, if they were around in the 1220 BCs, they would have predicted the Ten Commandments.
Yep. But I do think it's funny that the two people that played Zolar and Ezron were I watched it. I'm like, I was trying to think if they were actually characters in The Simpsons, like Homer. Homer was the only actual
Yes.
Simpsons character that wasn't, but it would have been kind of funny had those two been like Lenny and Carl.
Yeah. They probably would have been in later seasons because they do incorporate Simpsons characters into their past, the past episodes where it's ancient Greece or ancient Roman or
Yes.
ancient Japan. Like they incorporate actual characters. I think in this instance, they didn't come up with that idea. And so they're like, let's come up with names that sound Egyptian.
Yeah, but I do like how it's Homer the thief
Yep.
as himself,
Yep.
and then you got Zolar and Ezron. Instead of giving Homer like a Judaic name, they're like,
He's
"Yep,
Homer.
he's Homer," because that's a very Jewish name, Homer. I didn't know if you
Yes.
knew that.
He does, and when he's introduced, he does steal a couple golden idols.
Yep, they plays his part really well. And then when Zolar the adulterer comes by, Homer steals his money purse when he pats him on the back.
I do like the fact that when Zolar comes around, he's like, "Oh, say hi to your wife for me, Homer." And it's like, well, he is an adulterer.
Yep, that was pretty good. And then Ezron is the carver of graven images.
And for anybody out there who might not understand graven images, false idols.
Yes. So we got Moses coming down from the mountains, just like in that Charlton Heston movie.
And awesome, Phil Hartman, the voice of Moses. Although I don't know if Phil Hartman was actually Jewish, but I don't care. It's Phil Hartman.
Yep, but I do think we'll get into it. But I love how this episode, Phil Hartman, voices a couple, people in the episode. which is kind of cool. He does Moses, he does the cable guy, he does Troy McClure. So it's kind of cool to see Hartman kind of play multiple roles in one episode.
I mean, it's Phil Hartman. He's hilarious. I mean, he could have just voiced the entire Simpsons cast, and I would have been fine with it.
Yeah, that would have been great. A lot of work, but it would have been pretty funny.
So as he comes down with the 10 Commandments, he's like, I will now read them in no particular order, which I thought was hilarious because I'm pretty sure in the Old Testament, Moses, reads the 10 Commandments in the order that God gave him those commandments.
Exactly. Now, this is going pretty deep, but being Jewish, we learn this, that there are more than 10 commandments. So for those of you out there that think there's only 10 commandments, there's not. There's close to isn't it close to 300 something?
Oh yeah, there are a ton of commandments. So the 10 Commandments, think of that as the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution, and then there's all these other amendments after that. Yeah. So the 10 Commandments is like the Bill of Rights of rules for the Israelites, and then they have also all these other rules.
Don't eat shellfish, don't eat cloven hooves.
Don't mix meat with dairy.
Exactly. There's a lot of other stuff that a lot of people probably don't realize that aren't Jewish, so... And we're not going to go through all 200 of them. That would take way too long. So I like how it's no particular order, but the first one is, thou shalt not make graven images. And the guy's like, oh, unbelievable.
And what am I supposed to do now?
Yep. And then thou shalt not commit adultery. And the guy's like, oh, I'm out of a job.
And Homer's like, keep them coming, Moses. Keep them coming.
And then it's thou shalt not steal.
Dough.
Everyone lost their job.
Yeah,
I do like it's funny that it's like those were jobs.
Yeah,
in the early BCs.
Well, you got to feed the family somehow. Although I don't know how being an adulterer is a job, but prostitution, I guess.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know if I would consider that a job unless you were hired. Hey, go sleep with that dude's wife, and then they'll break up, and then I can have her.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like it's almost like hiring a hitman just for sex.
yeah. So this episode also spawned, I believe it's in season 4, Homer the Heretic, because they liked doing this episode so much they touched on another commandment, I believe. We will get that. We will get to that in season, I believe it's 4.
Cool. All right, so let's head to present day Springfield, and Flanders is
Yep.
getting angry at the cable guy for wanting to give him cable.
But
For
illegally.
yeah, illegally. And I do like that it's Flanders like, I should box your ears, you sneaky Pete.
Yeah. Well, Flanders, he's a decent human being. He doesn't like to do illegal things, and I applaud him for that.
And I do like how the cable man's only comeback is easy, Tiger.
And then Homer and Flanders are talking. Homer's like, "Oh man, how could people be so cruel and evil and want to steal cable?" And then he runs to the cable guy to get the illegal cable. And he also
Yep.
almost gets hit by the cable guy.
Exactly. So this is a movie moment for you guys. So after finding out the cable man does illegal hookups, Homer chases down his truck and fakes getting hit in order to get him to stop. And it's reminiscent of the Hitchcock movie North by Northwest.
See, I was going to write that down, and I've actually never seen North by Northwest, so I didn't really get the reference. But there you go.
I have.
Okay.
So Shay likes to watch Hitchcock movies, so I've seen.
I mean, don't get me
that.
wrong. Hitchcock is a phenomenal director, and I've seen a couple. I should really watch more Hitchcock. Besides the point, so Homer has the cable guy hook up the cable, and Homer starts to have second thoughts. So the cable guy gives him a pamphlet that says, "So you decided to steal cable."
Now, as a home theater installer and a purveyor of old technology,
Yeah,
that's not how you hook up cable. It's not two wires into the side back. It's
well, don't
actually
forget, at the end of the episode, we see Homer climb.
well, no. That's where like the cable would come in. It would come in from the wire, but when you wire it to the house, it comes in through a coaxial cable, not
Correct.
two. Now
That's
it looks
true.
like he was. Now it looks like he was connecting like two antenna inputs to it,
Yeah.
and that's not how. Now in the old, like in the early '90s, if you had a TV, the antenna was two individual, like the rabbit ears was
Yeah, the
two
rabbit ears.
individual hookups. Yep. So nowadays antennas are coax as well, but back in the
Correct.
90s, antenna was two little hooks that go into the back. But cable, like cable TV cable, was still coax in the 90s.
Oh.
So this guy was hooking up cable TV all wrong, but he's a shyster, so
Yeah,
it's to be
but
expected.
it still worked. So what are you going to do? So the first thing in the pamphlet, Homer reads, myth, cable piracy is wrong. Fact, cable companies are big faceless corporations, which makes it okay. To be fair, I'm all right with that. Big
Yeah, I
corporations,
know.
they overcharge for things like cable, and you know what? Got to stick it to the man.
Well, it is funny now if we talk about the 2020s,
Yeah.
or I mean, maybe even 4 years ago. This is when digital TV really started taking over. You got
Oh,
Hulu
yeah.
TV, PlayStation View, which is no longer around. You got YouTube TV, Sling TV,
Netflix.
Netflix. I mean, cable companies are really hitting it hard because everyone, like, I have YouTube TV, and that's my
Yeah.
cable. It's cheaper than going with Comcast, and then
You know what my cable is? Over the air. Because
Yep.
even over the air, I get the basic, local stations, and then the local stations have substations that, like, the station I work for, there's a station on there called Laugh TV, so I can watch That 70s Show, I can watch Third Rock from the Sun, Home Improvement, they got How I Met Your Mother, Night Court, like, they have all these TV shows. Plus,
Yep.
I have all these substations through Samsung Television through
Oh, yeah.
over the air.
Yep.
Why do I need to pay for cable when it's $150?
Exactly.
I have
Now-
Netflix, I have Hulu, I don't have Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. Why would I need cable?
Now, let's just do a quick disclaimer here. The Simpsons did a podcast. Is no way condoning stealing cable.
Correct. Don't steal cable.
Now,
Stealing is
now,
wrong. You'll go to
but
hell.
here's the other thing: is it stealing if I donate my passwords to Disney Plus or Netflix to other people? I think they would consider it a yes because they
Well,
want
they
them to.
yeah, they want as many subscribers as possible. But, you know, I think Netflix has like something like 10 million subscribers.
So they're okay with. But
Like,
it,
are you really going to be angry if, like, say you have 10 million subscribers and like 1,000 people aren't subscribing and they're using other people's passwords? You're really going to be upset over $13,000 a month when you're making millions of dollars a year? That's like a drop in the bucket. I mean, I do share passwords.
hey, you got my
Uh,
Disney Plus password, but to be
I
fair, that's for the podcast.
That is for the
That's for the
podcast,
podcast, so it's okay.
and
It's research.
I do
We'll
pay
count
you
it as
for it.
research.
I mean, we also share the NHL app, and I pay you for that. So it's not
Yeah.
like I'm stealing. I'm still paying for it. It's just that the companies aren't getting extra money.
So anyway, Homer gets hooked up with 68 channels on
Yep.
cable. And in 1991, there were 53,400,000 cable subscribers. So, a couple people stealing cable here and there.
Yeah, I did look up to see how many cable stations there were by the end of 91, and I feel like I counted correctly, and there are actually 68 channels by the end of 91. And Homer mentions that there's MTV for the kids and VH1 for them. And fun fact, MTV came out in 1981. I did not realize it was that old. And VH1 came out in 1985.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I was watching music videos with Ben, in the late 80s.
Wait, MTV and VH1 did music videos?
Dude, yeah, MTV. That's
Okay,
what it's called.
okay.
It's called music television. Well, not anymore. Now they might as well change it to reality television.
It was a joke. I do like the fact, I did write this down, when they turn on the TV for the first time, they're selling a Poopsie the statue or Poopsie the clown statue for like $85. I'm like, Poopsie the clown. I don't know what that's from. I don't know why they decided, hey, when he first turns on the cable, this is what you're gonna see. But Home
Yeah, it's
Shopping
almost like
Network,
it should have almost been like maybe a Krusty the Clown doll or something.
yeah.
So Marge is skeptical about the free cable as well, kind of like Homer was when the guy
Mhm.
hooked it up. And Homer's like, nothing a month? Yeah, I think we could swing that.
And so he hands Marge the pamphlet, and Marge reads, "Myth. It's only fair to pay for quality first run movies. Fact. Most movies shown on cable get 2 stars or less and are repeated ad nauseum." And
Not
that's just not true.
no, no,
That's
no.
not true.
Well, not 2 stars or less. Now at ad nauseum, that's true. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
You look at FX. Literally every single day of the week, at over the course of maybe 3 months, I saw Deadpool. Well,
But to be
non
fair, Deadpool's a good movie.
Not on cable. Well, okay, depending on when FX aired it. If it was aired after 9 p.m., you got all the swearing and everything. If it had aired before 9 p.m., you didn't
That's
get
fine.
any of it.
Yeah.
So it just depends. But yes, the ad nauseum part, absolutely
yeah.
true.
Well, even on like HBO and Showtime, and like they rerun the same movies over and over again.
I know.
So
It's kind of weird. I mean, you have a collection of, millions of movies. Why? I mean, with DVR, okay, so everyone has DVR. If you get HBO, you get on demand. People
Yep.
can watch, you don't have to watch these things live. So people can literally watch a movie that they want to watch, not live if they want.
Yeah.
So why not play a different movie every couple hours for the next year and then start recycling them,
Yeah.
the following year?
I think it's more of a recency. I wouldn't call it recency bias, but like they want to play more recently released movies.
Oh yeah, I mean maybe it's kind of like a movie theater. Play those for 3 weeks, and then okay, let's throw them under the into the on-demand era, and people can watch them whenever they want.
Yeah.
So there's a montage of The Simpsons watching cable. When Marge and the kids come back from shopping, she had a plant. And during the montage, you see the plant next to the couch growing into a nice full-grown couch and then die at the end of it.
So, which leads me to believe, how long were they sitting there watching cable? And also, as we'll get into it, towards the end of it, it's a Sunday because they have to go to church. So, my question is,
I think they've been stealing cable for maybe half a year.
No. How long does it take to like?
A plant to grow?
I mean,
Well,
it's got to take a couple. I mean, at least a week.
to be fully grown? I don't know, what's funny is for the plant to grow, you need to water it. So at
Yeah.
some point, they stopped watering it because cable was more important.
I mean,
Maybe.
probably. I would imagine they stopped watering it because plants need water to live. Granted,
Yep.
it also didn't look like it was in a good spot to get sunlight either. So,
No.
I mean,
I guess I don't know what the sunlight situation is from their backyard into their
yeah,
into their room. So during the montage, Bart and Homer are watching shows, and I love it. Bart's like, Jaws, he eats the bone. Die Hard jumps out of a window, and Wall Street gets arrested. I'm like, okay, so we got Jaws was not the name. So for those of you that don't know, Jaws was not the name of the shark. Die Hard was not the name of John McClane,
nope,
and Wall Street
it's
was
not
not
the
the guy that get arrested.
It's yeah, because he's like, oh, this is the one where the shark eats the boat. Oh, this is the one where Die Hard jumps out the window. Oh, this is the one where Wall Street gets arrested. And like, so that begs the question: how many hours are they putting into watching cable? Which leads back
Well,
to the
remember the
plan. They've got 6 months seems like a really long time, and as Marge said, they show the same movies over and over again.
well, we do get to that part where Homer's like, seen
Seen
it.
it,
So I mean, we it has to be a good chunk of time, but it is
yeah,
kind of funny that Lisa stood, put up with free cable
yeah,
for this long. Like it is kind of crazy that when she finally learns that stealing is wrong. I mean, they've been doing this for months.
yeah.
And then at the very end, right before they go to church, we get Homer's watching a show, the World Series of Cockfighting. That must have been on the Ocho, right?
Probably. Yeah, maybe ESPN the Ocho.
Yeah.
Uh
And then
Cockfighting.
right as they're leaving, we hear a part of Davy and Goliath episode. So the first time we get Davy and Goliath,
Yeah.
where Goliath warns against using Dad's car.
Yeah.
That was really funny because you shouldn't use your dad's car
No,
if
no,
you're
you shouldn't.
underage.
So
So yeah, go ahead. Final
uh,
shot.
final shot, we see Homer sitting. Marge comes in and she's like, "Oh, it's time to go to church." And Homer's like, "It's Sunday already." And he gets up and we get our first shot of the Homer's couch groove, which
Yeah,
comes up in a few episodes later on.
yeah.
So that was kind of neat.
I was trying to remember oh, was it the David Rodney Dangerfield episode where his groove gets ruined?
I believe so.
Okay, I was trying to remember last night when I was watching the episode if that was the episode that the groove gets ruined was the Rodney Dangerfield episode, but we're
Maybe.
gonna get to that in the future.
So now we go to church. Homer and Marge are upstairs listening to Reverend Lovejoy. And then we go to Sunday school with Bart and Lisa. And behind the teacher, we see some of the Ten Commandments on the wall. So we see, do not take the name of the name of the Lord in vain. Remember the Sabbath day. Honor thy father and thy mother. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. And thou shalt not steal. Wink, wink. And then as she walks to the whiteboard, we see, do not bear false witness, and thou shalt not covet.
And this week in Sunday school, they're covering hell.
Hell. I love the fact that Bart is like, oh, this. How about this? And he was in hell. Does he not remember that?
I know well. Was that? Oh,
That's
that
when he
was
got
the
hit by
Bart
Mr.
gets hit by a
Burns.
car.
Yeah.
Yep. So he was in hell. Okay. For a second, I was thinking Treehouse of Horror, but you're right. It was Bart gets hit by
Mr. Burns.
Burns. And I do like how the kids, so the girls were like, and then all the guys are like, yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Let's
boys
live
be
out.
boys.
Yep. And so, but one of the questions Barks asked, do pirates go to hell? Which should be really, really an obvious answer. But
Yeah.
yes, there are so many pirates in hell.
I do like the fact that Bart asked her a question and she goes, if you saw hell, you would be so frightened and die. Would you already be dead if you were in hell?
Yep.
So you wouldn't die again. Or is this like South Park where you can die and then you just respawn in hell?
Maybe. It sounds about right. I don't know. Everyone does hell a little bit differently in all their episodes,
Yeah.
but I do think it's funny that the teacher, she's teaching this to the class, and obviously the biggest one when she goes over it is "Thou shalt not steal," and Lisa was like, you could kind of see her face. Oh no,
Oh yeah.
this is something that I'm experiencing in my own home, and we'll get into it. But Lisa is just completely against stealing. Like, she knows she doesn't want her whole family plus herself to go to hell.
Correct.
And so we get to the car, and Bart says, or Marge's like, "What'd you guys learn about in Sunday school today?" Bart's like, "Hell," and Marge's like, "Hey." And then Bart's like, "Hell, hell, hell, hell,
Well,
hell,
how can I
hell,
tell you I learned about hell if I can't say it? And Homer's like,
hell."
that's a good point.
And so I thought that was just really funny. And Marge is like, "We're not in Sunday school anymore. So,
Stop
yeah, you can stop. You can stop now." And so we get back to the house, and I love how the Santa's Little Helper and Snowball 2 are just lounging in the groove, probably
it.
still warm from Homer's ass. And you know how much,
Probably.
animals like warm spots.
So I wrote this in. I don't know if you noticed this. I don't know if you actually looked through
Oh,
my
I
notes.
did.
So Homer's
Yep.
sitting on the couch. Bart comes up and he asks everybody if they are up to watching so-called pay TV. And there's this black line that is randomly in the shot. And it's just, I don't know if that was an animation mistake. I mean, it had to have been.
Well, it's
Like,
so yeah. Well, I rewound it twice. The first time I saw it, I saw your note on it, and I
yeah.
watched it, and I'm like, "Oh, there's just a hair on my TV or something weird." And then I rewound it. I'm like, "Oh, that's what that note meant."
Yeah.
And so what and so yes, it's either an animation error, and I'm gonna go through all my VHS tapes and see if
You have that
I
episode?
got that. I do have this episode recorded because I do want to see an original air of
Yeah.
this and see if that line is still there. If you guys know, if anyone else has the DVD collections or like the original
VHS.
DVDs or VHS copies and get to it before I do, shoot us a little message on Instagram or Facebook and let us know if this is something that you noticed during the watching of this episode. And maybe it's
Yeah,
just
it's
us, maybe it's not. And so we get the first appearance of the one, the only
Troy
Troy McClure.
also voiced by Phil Hartman,
Yep.
which one of the greatest side characters in all of Simpsons history.
And he always introduces himself
Yep.
as, "I'm your host, Troy McClure. You may remember me from such movies as Cry Yuma and Here Comes the Coast Guard."
I do like the fact that he was hosting a television show called I Can't Believe They Invented It.
I know. That was so funny. I mean, it's
It's
like a
bad.
QV. Well, remember, it's like the 90s, and that's when
Yeah.
QVC was huge, or the
Yeah.
Home Shopping Network. Like, all those things were huge. And it was kind of like reminiscent of, I don't know, the Wonder Mop, or, all those
Sham
like
Wow.
ShamWow. Like, it's really funny because I used to watch these sometimes on TV, and then at the Mall of America, we had an As Seen on TV store.
Well,
Like, it was
Target
literally,
has an aisle for as seen on TV stuff.
yep. The funny thing is, the products still exist, but they're not on normal TV as much anymore. Like the ads and stuff, they're not
Oh
on
yeah.
normal TV anymore. And so you still go down the aisle and you see some of this stuff. You're like, "Oh, that's cool. That's cool." And I've bought some of it, and a lot of it is actually pretty cool. And I can't believe they invented it.
So we get our next inventor, and it's Dr. Nick Riviera, and he invented a candy that cleans and straightens your teeth.
That's a good invention.
By the
I don't.
way, so when he comes out, he goes, "Hi everybody," and they respond, "Hi Dr. Nick." I could have sworn in a few episodes he goes, "Hello everybody." So that's I want to watch out for that kind of stuff.
I mean, I feel like his catchphrase is "Hi, everybody," but
But I feel like he says hello everybody every once in a while.
all right. Well, this is, I think, the first one, right? He didn't do
No,
it in. Did he do it in Bart Gets Hit by a Car?
I think he did, but they didn't respond.
Okay, that's okay. I think you're right on that one. So I think this is the first response to "Hi, Dr. Nick."
Yes.
And so after watching that, Lisa walks in and she freaks out and imagines all the Simpsons in hell watching TV. And we get our second appearance of the devil.
which is
And I do
great.
and I do like the fact that they recycled, well, they kept the devil similar in appearance.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to. Also, I think this is the last time we ever see the devil in a Simpsons episode. I could be wrong. I might be wrong. But I feel like we don't ever see this version of the devil again.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I mean, we see God, I think, at this point more times than we do the devil from here on out.
Which kind of sad because I like the devil drawing. I like how they drew him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of have to have a point for it. But like you mentioned, we had the whole like Homer the Heretic in the future. Maybe
Yeah.
that would have been a good episode to throw him in. But when we, when we get to Treehouse of Horrors, that I think feature the devil, we don't even get.
No, it's Ned Flanders.
Yeah, exactly. Which, to be fair, the devil could be Ned Flanders.
It could be.
He does have a temper. I mean, Flanders really does have a temper.
So now we go to the grocery store with Lisa, Maggie, and Marge, and Maggie is just grabbing stuff off the shelf, and I believe she's just throwing it on the ground.
Oh, I couldn't tell with the animation if it was going
Yeah.
in the cart or not.
And then we see Jimbo behind the Simpsons shoplifting. He's in the grocery store stuffing produce in his parka, and then later on in the episode we see him in the Quick Trip, stealing more merchandise. Quickie Mart. What did I say?
Quickie Mart.
I said Quick Trip.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not in the real world. We're in the Simpsons world.
Quickie Trip.
Quickie Trip.
Or Quickie Mart. God darn it. As we said before, our brains are a little fried right now because of dealing with election. So Marge eats a couple of grapes to test them out. And I know our mom did this.
Oh, yeah.
I do it. Like,
by eating a couple grapes out of the bag that you're gonna buy, you could tell if the entire batch is gonna be good.
I mean,
right? Is that the theory? You eat one of them, and you're like, you eat one of them. Oh, the whole bag's got to be good. If this.
Well, what happens if you eat one and that grape is bad? You don't want to buy that bag of grapes,
right? I guess.
So if you take a couple and they're both really good, all right, I'll buy this bag of grapes. Maybe the third one sucks. Who knows? But
hey, man, do people like we did this? I could tell you we did this, and I know people always did this. I mean, you go down like the peanut section where you can do self-serve like bags. You'd have a couple pistachios or a couple, I mean, is it technically stealing? I guess so,
yes.
But what's okay. So these are all by weight. So if
Correct.
you were to go up to a counter, and this is a really good example, like me and my wife will do like not cilantro. What am I thinking of?
I have no idea.
Like ginger root. We do like ginger root. Well, it doesn't weigh anything, and all we need for dinner is like an inch of it, like a really small piece.
Okay.
And so we break it off, we put it in the bag, we throw it on the scale at the checkout. Registers no weight. So a lot of the times the cashiers will be like, it's not worth my trouble to give it a price. You can have it. And that's happened more often than not because at the grocery store that we go to, a lot of it is self-serve. So like they had spices. Well, I only need a teaspoon of certain spice. So I'll just put that in the bag and take it to the counter. They're like, there's literally no weight to this. Just have it.
Well, and that's the thing in this. Lisa like gives Marge like this glare because she ate the 2 grapes, and so she tells the cashier, "I ate 2 grapes," and the cashier's like, "I need a price on 2 grapes. Seriously,
2 grapes."
I do like the fact that there is a sign on their cash register that says, "Caution: looking into laser may be harmful."
Well, it is. That's on a lot of. I like. It's a bigger sign, but that is on every single laser on every device at a store, Target, grocery store, wherever.
Interesting. I've never noticed those signs.
I mean, it's not a sign. It's small and printed inside the laser gun or the pad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't see it on the register.
No. Maybe back in the day, a lot of kids just stared into it.
Maybe.
Hey, do you like Cards Against Humanity?
I sure do.
Well, what if you could play Cards Against Humanity Simpsons style?
That would be amazing.
Well, now you can. Check out Cards Against the Simpsons Simpsons.com to buy your very own set of Simpsons Against Humanity.
I see a lot of podcasts give out discount codes. Is there a promo code I could use?
There sure is. Use promo code SimpsonsPod. That's SIMPSONSPOD to receive a 10% discount on Cards Against Humanity, the Simpsons way.
Ay caramba, that's a good deal. But for all of our listeners out there, if you want a better deal, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook to get a different promo code to save even more.
That is correct. So head over to Facebook, the Simpsons Did It page, Instagram, Simpsons Did It Pod, and Twitter, Simpsons Did It PC to get that code. And as always, everything's coming up Millhouse. And so we go back to the Simpson home and they're watching the Blockbuster channel.
Yep.
I was kind of wondering if it was based on like Blockbuster store, like the Blockbuster video rental store.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing research on when Blockbuster actually became a store, but I know it was at least 80s because we were renting VHS tapes back then. So my guess would be around that general time. And so they're like, oh, Blockbuster's a good place to rent movies. Let's just have a Blockbuster channel.
Okay.
And so we learn about the bout to knock the other guy out.
That was fantastic.
And so Homer starts going to kiss the cable because he's extremely happy that he actually gets to see a fight live and not have to go out and watch it at a bar.
Speaking
but
of
not
a bar,
Moe's because Moe doesn't get cable.
Because he decided to buy a mechanical bull instead, and he sticks by.
We'll get to that.
Well, that's the next scene.
We're not. Oh, is it? No.
Oh no, I did skip over the Burns. Yeah, I skipped over a scene. You right.
And so after Homer's done kissing the cable, now I did not know they had showers at the nuclear power plant.
That makes sense though.
Well, yeah. Well, it looked more like a shower room than so it says. So the sign said decontamination showers wash everything.
I mean, that's actually a good safety sign to have.
No, it is, but contamination showers in most, like if you look at the CDC and most.
No, it's a single shower with a ripcord.
Exactly. It's not a shower room like in a locker room. So I thought it was kind of funny that there's actually like a locker room scenario at the plant.
The other thing too is I'm pretty sure it's illegal to have cameras in the shower room.
Yes, it is.
And microphones.
Well, cameras for sure. Microphones just adds to it.
Yeah.
But I do like how Burns has microphones on his cameras. I don't even know if security cameras come with microphones.
I don't believe so.
So they would have to have rigged each room with a separate microphone connected to the camera.
No, it does depend on if they went cheap and just got like those cameras that don't have microphones built into them, or if you bought like a professional grade camera because those have the boom mic on it. However, back in the early 90s, that probably runs you a hefty sum of money, and they're also really bulky. So I can't imagine Burns would spring for those. So they probably rigged microphones up to the cameras.
Yeah, but that was kind of funny that Burns is spying on the men in the shower. I figured it would have been Smithers, but
And then Burns, he's watching and listening, and he's like, oh, who is that man? Oh, that's Homer Simpson. Again, doesn't remember his own employees. It's a common theme in The Simpsons by this point. And so he's like, I'm going to go to that man's house to watch a fight. It's like, and Smithers brings up a good point. You're rich. Buy it yourself.
Yep, but Burns was like, I'm so keen on seeing Watson versus Tatum too. I'd even go to an employee's house. Oh, I can picture it now. The screen door rusting off its filthy hinges, mangy dogs staggering about, looking vainly for a place to die.
Is that how all rich people think about us middle-class citizens?
I mean, if it was our resident slack-jawed yokel, absolutely.
He's not middle class, he's working poor.
Yeah, but he was more describing Cletus's house than he was the Simpsons' house.
Yeah. So now we get to the scene where Homer's at Moe's and he invites everybody over for the fight. And this is where Moe comes up and says it was between Cable and a mechanical bull, and he got the mechanical bull, and he stands by his choice. We pan over to it, and it doesn't look like it's ever been used.
No. And now I want to know where the mechanical bull is. Every time we go to Moe's now, I want to see if it's in that back corner.
Yes.
And
So
and what it looks like too. Because I feel like in future episodes, if it is there, I bet it's not as dusty and beaten up as it is in this episode.
So I'm not 100% sure what the scene all entails, but I wrote down Crate O'Duff.
That's when Homer went to go buy snacks and beer for the fight.
Gotcha. I
And we
remember
also
writing it down because I thought it was funny that they'd have a Crate O'Duff, but I don't remember the scene.
and that's also the scene where we see Jimbo that second time stealing
Oh,
merchandise.
at that quickie more, yeah. Stealing
Yep.
more merchandise,
So
which
I do
is
like
it's a very good background gag because the episode does talk about stealing.
Yep. I mean, it's a good theme that they kept kind of progressing through the entire
Episode.
episode. So we go to church. So Lisa, wants some reassurance a little bit. And so on the outside of the church, we see God, the original love connection sign outside the church.
I do love the fact, the Simpsons have a very strong sign game in
Yep.
their history, and I believe this is like the second or third sign we have seen in
Yeah.
the
I mean,
Simpsons up to this point.
between Springfield General Hospital and the church, we've seen probably 4 or 5 of them.
And they're only going to get better from here.
Oh, absolutely. And so
So,
Lisa goes for spiritual guidance, and Lisa kind of in her whole stealing phase, she's like, so even a man takes bread to feed his starving family. Would that be considered stealing? And Reverend Lovejoy goes, no. Well, if he puts anything on it, jelly, for example.
jelly is, I guess, a delicatessen. I
Well,
guess
back in the Bible times,
that's
jelly was
true.
probably a rich man's
Food,
spread
yeah.
or food, and so stealing the bread, not bad. Stealing the
But
bread and jelly, bad.
But so this episode obviously is in 91, but stealing has been not a theology, a philosophy is the word I'm looking for. Philosophy talking point for a really long time. And, back in the old days, if you stole, the punishment was, getting your hand chopped off. And
Yep.
so it really brings up a good point with what Reverend Lovejoy said. Is it really wrong if a man can't feed his family for him to steal even a few pieces of bread so his family doesn't go hungry? Or obviously in this instance, Homer's stealing Cable. Is it hurting anybody because he's stealing it?
Yeah.
So in college I took a philosophy class and learned, the differences. And in today's society, I mean, if somebody stole, like, I've heard a couple stories where like a down on their luck person, tried to steal a piece of bread, and instead of arresting the person, the cop just bought the bread for them, which is a great
Yep.
gesture. And I would hope that if you're citizens out there and you notice somebody stealing food, they might not be stealing food because they enjoy it. They might be doing it because they're trying to feed themselves or their family. So I would hope in that situation, if I was in that situation, I'd help them out, or just turn the other
Yep.
cheek and let them take it. I mean, they don't get caught. Now, if they got caught, yeah, I'd probably be like, you know what? I'll pay for it.
Yep. And so Lisa, after talking with Lovejoy, goes back home and she kind of confronts Homer
Yeah.
about, is stealing is wrong. I don't think you should watch it. And Homer has a semi good point. He's like, oh, look at it this way. When you had breakfast this morning,
Yep.
did you pay for it? No. And did you pay for those clothes you're wearing? No, I didn't. Well, run for the hills, Ma Baker, before I call the feds. And Lisa's like, Dad, I think that's pretty spurious. And Homer's like, well, thank you, honey.
Basically,
And
Lisa was saying that the two arguments were not the same. It's apples to oranges. It's like when our parents paid for, bills and bought us clothes and bought us food. They weren't expecting us to pay for it. Now, we did do chores. You mowed the lawn. I helped clean. You helped clean. We put the work in around the house, but at the same time, I parents shouldn't be saying, "Well, I bought you those clothes, give me the money back. I'm 10, I don't have any money."
Yeah.
It's your duty as a parent to clothe and feed your child until they're 16 and they can get a job.
So yeah, Homer was a little bit off on that one, but he thought it was a compliment. So
Well, it's Homer, he's dumb.
yep, exactly. And
So
so later that
now
yep,
we go
later
to the
that night,
next scene, and Bart is doing 10-year-old what 10-year-olds love to do, man. He's watching the adult entertainment channel where it's available all day, every day, except Utah and Florida. I understand Utah because Utah is Mormon country, but why Florida?
old people don't like nudity. I
Like,
don't know.
I get like, were they just making fun of Florida for something that happened in the early 90s?
I guess it's possible. Maybe we'll do a little research on that and post it on our social media. And I do like how Homer goes up to Bart and says, I don't want you watching this channel. It's only for mommies and daddies who love each other very much. To be fair, I mean, I guess there are a few couples out there that like watching dirty movies together, but I feel like the average husband and wife combo doesn't do that.
Probably not. It really depends on the couple and their tastes. And Homer is sort of right. I would say it's not for just mommies and daddies. I would say it's for, grown adults who are mature and want to watch those kind of movies.
And Bart being 10, I feel like he's not quite at that age that he could utilize that channel correctly.
Probably not.
So, I don't know.
We're gonna continue on.
Yes. Oh, you don't want to get into Barge's early childhood fantasies?
No, don't.
No. Okay. All right. We'll move on then. So Marge feels that Cable has become an evil presence because they're stealing it,
Yep.
and Homer's like, we can't afford it. Or was that Marge? Marge was saying that they can't afford it.
No, Homer said he's like, when I can pay for it, I will, but right now I can't. So and he literally takes his foot and puts it on the ground. Yeah, like when you want to say I'm putting my foot down because this is the way it's going to be, he literally does it. And I feel like that's so in character for Homer to do that.
So next scene, we get Homer is watching. Like this is kind of where he gets to the whole I've seen everything on this TV now. But the next scene is watching an episode of Itchy and Scratchy that is the
nice one.
when they're nice, the nice one,
the lemonade,
the Porch Pals. Yeah, the lemonade, the Porch Pals episode. Don't worry, I won't do it again.
Yeah.
But I just edited that episode and it was extremely funny again. And I made that our trailer for next week if you listen to that.
I probably won't now that you told me.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I asked, why would they rerun it? The whole Marge situation with the Itchy and Scratchy International is over.
Yeah.
They lost the case. I don't know why they would rerun that episode.
So now this goes with your second question, because you say if Krusty is on cable, how could they watch it before? Mind you, The Simpsons is on Fox. It airs on Fox, new episodes, mostly, in the fall and winter and a little bit in the spring. Obviously, in this time, it was Thursday nights. Fox is also on the basic over the air. So what I'm assuming is that Krusty is also on over the air new, because I get all, Fox, NBC, ABC, CBS over the air for free. However, you can also get those channels on cable. So I'm assuming they're still watching Krusty over the air, and then they get the cable, and now they're watching him on cable. To answer your second question, why would they rerun it? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of like the adult, how Adult Swim has like Family Guy?
Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of like that. Maybe they're watching like a different channel, and so they rerun that.
So you're thinking maybe Homer is watching an actual paid cable channel,
yes,
as opposed to a free channel that you would normally get with just an antenna. I
Correct.
guess that's possible if Krusty the Clown is syndicated.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know why they. I thought I would figure they would just pull that episode or ban it or never watch it ever again.
You would be right. So afterwards, the cable guy breaks into his house and tries to sell him a stereo out of a car that has clearly been stolen. And so Homer says something about oh, the cable guy's like, well, I guess I'll go talk to your next door neighbor. And Homer's like, well, they're not home. And so the cable's like, oh, that's so much better, inferring that he's gonna break into the house. So Homer freaks out, puts on multiple locks, puts bars on the window, and it's just, I don't know why they took that turn.
I mean, the only thing I was thinking is maybe it was supposedly signifying Homer going to prison for stealing cable. Like it was kind of his punishment for stealing cable. He let this guy into their life.
Maybe.
He let someone know that they were at home and he's going to go steal. I think maybe that was just an implication of him stealing and maybe going to prison for stealing cable. I don't know, but I mean that kind of when you look at the outside of the house with all the bars on the window, it
Oh
kind of
yeah.
made it seem in that light.
Yeah. Maybe.
So then we get the next day, and Bart is inviting all his friends and kids in the neighborhood to come over for 50 cents to watch the adult channel.
Must be 8 years old or older to enter.
Yep. And there was a good chunk of kids from school, and I do like how Dolph and I want to know how Jimbo and all the older kids found out that apparently Bart was. Did he advertise it or something,
I mean, I'm sure he did.
or news just travels really?
Well, Springfield is, supposed to be a small town, so yeah, travels fast.
News travels fast. Yeah.
So they're watching a show called Broadcast Nudes, which is a reference to the TV show Broadcast News, which was written by Simpsons executive producer James L. Brooks.
Well, that fits in perfectly then.
Yes. They're stealing his ideas.
They are. Damn straight. So Bart laments that he isn't adult so he could break the rules because Homer's like, okay, what did I tell you? You shouldn't be watching this. And obviously he's implying that Homer's allowed to break the rules, but
Yeah.
Bart is not.
He's like, go to your room. Well, I wish I could be an adult so I could break the rules. Which, even as an adult, you should not be breaking rules.
No.
Well, some rules.
And so we finally get to the fight, what Homer's been waiting for all episode long.
The bout to knock the other guy out.
That's right. So they move the TV into the family room, which makes sense
because
because
it's
bigger and you need more people, more space. And I do like how it's like when we get to this, people sitting on the floor, you got the layer on the couch, and then you guys still got people standing behind the couch.
Yep.
And so we get our first appearance of Dredrick Tatum, and he makes his first appearance, and he's modeled after
Mike Tyson.
And then Buster Douglas is who the other guy Watson is.
Oh, that I did not find. I only knew about Dredrick Tatum.
So that was the other boxer who was based off or modeled after Buster Douglas.
I do like the scene with the weigh-in because they're like, oh, there was a scuffle at the weigh-in, and Douglas was like, I'm going to dedicate this to my dead manager, and Tatum's like, I'm going to dedicate this match to his dead manager.
Sure.
I don't know if they were mocking something with Mike Tyson there. Maybe they were. It's hilarious that the other guy would get upset. I mean, I get it. It was his manager, but why can't two people dedicate a match to a deceased guy that probably had a lot of respect from his peers?
Yeah, the only other thing I could think of, the only thing that other pop culture thing that crossed my mind was Rocky dedicating the fight to Mick when he passed away in Rocky 3. That was the only other thing that I could possibly think of.
When was Rocky 3 though?
Mid 80s.
Okay.
So
then, yeah, they could have been.
I mean, it's possible. I don't think maybe that is it, but I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
And then I also noted that Dredrick Tatum looks slightly different in this episode than he will in future episodes.
I'm fairly certain that's because of liability issues. Even though it is a parody, Mike Tyson seems like the kind of guy to sue The Simpsons for a likeness.
I know, but I feel like the voice. I mean, I don't even think his likeness is in any of the Futures episode, but it's more the
Yeah.
voice.
Oh, the voice too definitely sounds like Mike Tyson. So I'm sure it was a legal thing why they changed the voice and the appearance a little bit.
Yeah, and I like how Lisa's walking around telling everyone she's protesting the fight, and Homer's like, "Can you go protest outside?"
Yeah.
Which was where all protests should be.
Outside. So then
Outside.
everybody is sitting waiting for the fight. They're drinking beer and here comes Mo and Homer freaks out because he's stolen a lot of mugs from Moe's over the years and office supplies from Mr. Burns because Mr. Burns also shows up. So he yells at Bart to hide the mugs. Mo comes to the door and he's like, "I brought you a mug." And Homer is like, "Oh, that's great. Thank you. I always wanted one."
Well, I want to know how Homer walked off with so many mugs. I mean, did Mo have his back turned,
Mo
or
probably wasn't paying attention when Homer left.
well, I feel like okay, what, 5 people drink at Moe's? I feel
It's
like
true.
if your mugs are missing, you can kind of narrow down who's stealing your mugs.
Also, to be fair, do you remember all the Culver signs you had?
Yeah, I like stealing those. But to be fair, I left them on my window and waited for them to take them. If they did not take them, I was gone. Or if I did it inside the place, I would go grab my food when they called my number, and if they didn't ask for my number back, then yes, I took it. But yes, I have a
I
nice
mean,
stack of call
it's
my
a
number.
2-cent piece of plastic.
Yep, but I'm sure glass mugs that are actually personalized for your bar, those are probably
Yes,
quite expensive, and Mo
yeah.
probably did not want to lose many of those.
Mo is, and as we know, Mo is probably not the greatest business owner in the world.
No. So now the police show up, which is really funny.
Yeah.
And Homer's like, "Oh, well, guys, and it's like, just calm down. We're just here to see the fight."
Oh my god, that was great. I do like the fact that when Burns shows up, Barney answers the door, and because it's Burns, he thinks it's Homer Simpson, and then Homer like cuts in right as Burns is asking a question and brings Burns in, and Smithers, everybody moves because it's Mr. Burns, and then Smithers like wipes it off the couch and puts a little blanket or
Yep.
a little handkerchief on it for Burns to sit on, which is
Yeah.
again, I mean, perfect for those characters to do that.
Well, it's I don't know how many. I mean, there were a good chunk of people from the plant at the event,
Yeah.
and those people obviously knew Burns, but like Barney and Apu and I honestly I was trying. I mean, there were some characters that I've never seen before there
Yeah.
in the room, so I guess I don't necessarily know how many people jumped away at Burns, but I do like the fact that it was I can't remember. I know it was Barney, then Homer, and Homer must have been sitting at before Homer left, sitting next to Burns
Yeah.
and Smithers. And then I do like how they're doing backstory on Dredrick Tatum, and
Yeah.
we find out that he was at Springfield Penitentiary, and Barney
Well,
was
Mike
like,
Tyson
"Oh,
did go to jail, so
no, no, no." But I'm just saying I like how Barney was like, "Oh, a homegrown hero," or something along those lines, and I'm like, wouldn't you? Wouldn't anyone already know that he's a homegrown hero if he's a world boxing champ?
I mean, yes.
Like, I feel like a pro boxer would be known in your hometown if you.
I also side note, I like the fact that Burns brought snacks and it was a bag of Cheetos.
Yep, just a one bag, one
And
person
then
size bag of
and Homer
Cheetos.
ate it.
Well, yes, because Homer doesn't want to share with anyone else.
Yep.
And then Margie and Maggie join Lisa outside for the protest
Yep.
because, they want to support their daughter. And then right before the fight, Homer has a daydream that he's going to jail for stealing cable.
Yep.
And Homer's like, "Oh, crap."
Yep.
And he's like, "Hey, Bart, we're going outside. We're not watching the fight. And then after the fight, we're going to cut the cable."
Yeah. And Homer, for all of his faults, he is a decent human being when he realizes he's done wrong. And he learns and he's like, gosh darn it, my inner voice is right. I can't steal cable. And Lisa's always been the goody two shoes of the family for the
And
most
also,
part.
But it also leads me to believe how long did they have cable that Homer it took Homer this long. It took
That's
Homer
true.
to the fight to finally realize it. And obviously it was something important to him. Lisa
Yes.
was protesting it. I think that was kind of the final straw. He's like, "Oh, my family." Okay, Bart was there because Bart,
Yeah.
an evil kid, but none of his family, aside from Bart, was there to basically support his decision
Yes.
to watch the fight, and that was kind of his final straw. I was like, okay, my family's out there. They're not in this room. If I go to jail, I'm not going to have them anymore. And so he
Yeah.
finally makes the right call and leaves. And this was kind of one of the best Homer scenes in the first couple seasons. He's sitting outside, just hearing his friends inside cheering, and you hear the count for the fight, and the
Yep.
fight's finally over. And Homer's like, "Oh my god, this is just the worst feeling of my life."
I mean,
And
I've been there, sort of. I haven't stolen cable ever, but you've like sporting events. I missed the game 6 of the 2008 Stanley Cup Finals, and I was awful because the Red Wings won it. Eventually, I saw the game again, but on a rerun. But in that moment, you want to watch that sporting event. It's like missing the Super Bowl or missing a game 7 in hockey or basketball or whatever your sport is, or watching that swim meet or whatever you happen to like to watch, or even a reality show. As much as I don't really like them, you don't want to miss that, and especially watching it with your friends. Now, granted, this is Homer's own fault because he stole the cable.
now I am glad that the Simpsons didn't go this route. I almost expected Homer to say something to Lisa along the lines of, "I hate you for making me miss this fight."
Oh yeah,
Like, I'm really glad they didn't go that route,
that would
because
have been
I
bad.
mean, it is something that they could have done, though.
Oh yeah.
Like, in all reality, it is something that could have been done, and I'm just really glad that Homer decided not to go that route, because we almost went that route with Bart and Lisa during Thanksgiving, where Bart
Oh
was
yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Like, "I hate you as a sister, and I don't wanna talk to you anymore,"
Yeah.
sort of vibe,
I think that kind
and
of ruins the. I feel like that would ruin the Simpsons, and I know the writers are super smart, so I'm
yeah.
assuming they understood that.
But I'm glad Homer. I mean, Homer takes a lot of things out on Bart for the stupid stuff that he does. But
Yeah,
I'm really glad in this specific instance that they did not go that route with Lisa.
yeah. So after the fight's over, everybody's leaving. I like the fact that Burns and like Apu are like friends now.
Yeah, right. Well, sporting events bring people who like the same thing together, no matter
Yes.
what their differences.
So there that happens, and Homer is like, "All right, time to cut the cords." And Bart tells Homer to reconsider cutting the cable by telling him about the tractor pulls, Braves baseball, and Joe Franklin, who was a very successful radio host. I like the fact they threw in Braves baseball. Was one of the writers a Braves fan? I mean, I have to
No,
assume so.
no, 1991. The Braves were first in the NL,
Oh, gotcha.
so I think it must have been a great season. I don't know if they
They
went
did not.
all the
Toronto.
way.
I believe the Blue Jays won in '91. I think that was their first year winning a World Series championship. I know
Okay,
the Braves did not win it in '91. I know that much. I believe it was the Braves. They might have played the Braves in the World Series. I would have to look it up.
so according to the internet, they something happened in 1991. So the year October began, looks like the Braves had like their worst start. They went from like last place all the way to first place in the NL.
But don't forget, this episode aired at the beginning of '91, so you'd have
Oh,
to look at
so
1990.
okay, let me look at the 90 Braves.
And I know they didn't win it that year either. I believe it was the Reds.
Yeah, I guess I'm not. Well, I guess they're considered a dynasty team. So, according to this, the 1990s team definitely, the Atlanta Braves definitely had a dynasty going.
Oh, okay.
So, it looks like,
Well, also, wasn't I could be wrong, and listeners fix this for me if I am wrong. Didn't Ted Turner own Fox at one point?
I don't know, it sounds right. Oh, and this is also why 1990s they had Maddox, John Smoltz, and Tom Glavine all on their roster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's why Bart and the Atlanta Braves really. Well, I mean, it's great baseball.
It's fantastic baseball.
I mean, who doesn't, dude? That trio right there, best in baseball. I mean,
How that team only ever won one World Series is still mind-boggling.
yeah,
With that pitching staff and that offense. Anyways, we're getting off topic.
yes. So Homer cuts a couple wires up on the power lines, which is why you don't go cut your own cable.
Correct.
He cuts one half of the neighborhood, then he cuts the other half of the neighborhood, and then the third cable he cuts makes the screen end and go to the snow channel,
Yep.
which I think is hilarious. That was
fantastic.
Great
It's a great ending. It's a great ending.
And then to do the credits over that instead of going to black, they
Yeah.
did the credits right over the top of that.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that was
fantastic.
great ending. So this final thoughts for this episode. I mean, I'm just gonna say it up off the top, man. 5, everything's coming up Millhouse.
Oh, for
This
sure.
is just
For sure.
this was
I'm
just
not
a
even going to
fan-
argue with you on that. It's
this was the first Simpson episode between for season 1, season 2, first episode that we've reviewed that just screams. But in the first 5 minutes of this episode, I knew it was going to be amazing.
oh yeah.
The start with the Mount. I mean, just the start with something completely different that you haven't seen in The Simpsons before. I mean, it was definitely what's the word I'm looking for? Ethical episode.
Yes. Yep.
Not stealing. They did such a great job with the background. So like the Jimbo stuff. I mean, the Lisa in the supermarket. I think that was a little bit over the top. They might have been able to do something a little bit easier, maybe. Although it wasn't my favorite bit, it was definitely something where, as a young 8-year-old girl, you're thinking, "Oh, my mom is stealing by taking 2 grapes. I got to stop this where it stands."
Yeah.
I mean, the fight was phenomenal. Homer's.
Whoa, how do you know the fight was phenomenal? We didn't get to watch it because Homer was outside.
I know, but George Tatum won, so it was a good fight.
Yeah.
But I just all together, this episode filled all the boxes. I loved it, and I'm going with everything's coming up Millhouse.
I agree. 5, everything's coming up Millhouse. You got Troy McClure. You got Phil Hartman doing multiple voices. You got, as you said, the background gags. You got the ethical part. Everything just lands in this episode. I think this is one of the most complete episodes they have done up into this point.
Oh, absolutely.
And like, it's so good. For me, I haven't read a whole lot of philosophy since college, but I do love philosophy and ethical stuff. I am a communications major, so I learn a lot about ethics. I work in television. I learn more about ethics. So this just hits me in a spot where I could talk about this episode. And you got the jokes. You got Bart being, oh, I can say hell now. Awesome. I'm a 10-year-old boy. I can do that. It's just so good. The background characters are good. Burns inviting himself, and they explain why he wants to do it, which is great because you can't just have, I'm going to go to my employee's house to watch the fight and then not explain it, and they explain it. And like, they fill this 21 plus minute episode to the brim
with a lot.
Oh my God. The ending to this episode is probably one of the best endings I think they have ever done in any episode. Just because the way
maybe for season 2, we'll have to see.
But like, cutting the cord, going to the snow, it's brilliant. It's different. The one thing I would change is the couch gag. Because I hate repeats.
I mean, you had a good, well, yes, and you had a great chalkboard gag too. So it's like,
oh yeah, the chalkboard gag was great. Oh, so it's chef's kiss. I love it.
And kind of like how we talked even before we started recording. I'm like, man, we're going to talk forever on this episode because most of our episodes are between 40 minutes to an hour, but it's one of these episodes where there's so much content in such a short period of time that it's just really fun to talk about.
And the other thing I love about this episode is the progression. Because I feel like some of the newer episodes, it's It's you have side story A, side story
Yep.
B. They don't really mesh, and that's always been my kind of thing with the newer episodes, is that they seem more disconjointed because they do plot A, plot B, maybe plot C depending on the episode. And this is what I love about the early Simpsons is everything flows together. You can go all the way to the end of the episode and track all the way back to the beginning, and it makes perfect sense. Oh, I know how he got here. He stole the cable. Lisa was like, "This is wrong." Was finally able to convince Homer to cut the cable, so he cut the cable. It's just this is why I love the early seasons of The Simpsons, is because they do such a good job of connecting everything together.
Yep. All right, so let's close it off here with our character profile. And this week we have Reverend Lovejoy. So, his occupation, he's a man of God. For
Yep,
now, we kind of learn later that he kind of falls out. But right now, man of God, he's a
yep.
motorist. He likes riding motorcycles. He's also a marriage counselor,
Hmm.
which we learn with when Luann and
Oh, the
Van
Millhouses.
Houten. Yep. The
Kirk.
biggest, yes, Kirk Van Houten. Biggest competitors of church are the
Yep.
NFL.
Yes.
Absolutely true. Warm beds on
And
Sunday morning,
yep.
and cable. Apparently, cable is a big
See,
competitor of the
here's the
church.
thing about being Jewish though. We went to services on Friday night or Saturday morning,
And
depending on
Saturday.
the. And so Sundays we had Sunday school. We were home by noon, and then we went grocery shopping with our mom because she didn't want to be around her dad when football was on. I don't really
Yep.
blame her.
So books and pamphlets in Reverend Lovejoy's office are hell. It's not just for Christians anymore. Which, to be fair, Jews don't believe in hell. I'm assuming
No,
Buddhists maybe don't. Buddhists don't. I guess I'm kind of wondering. Well, I guess that's just not for Christians, so maybe other denominations of
Christians.
Catholics.
Yes.
Yep. And then Satan's boners.
What?
I don't know what
What?
that pamphlet has to do with anything.
Oh
Uh,
my word.
yep. His hobby, toy trains.
Yep.
Secret shame has his dog do its dirty business on Ned Flanders' lawn,
Which we'll learn
which
about.
we
I
will
believe
learn in
that's
the
what
future
season
episode.
5. Is that
I guess I
season
don't know the
5?
season on it, but it's definitely the one where Ned bugs, Ned bugs Lovejoy way too much, and
Correct.
yeah. Words of comfort to death row inmates. They're there. They're there. Well, if that's the worst thing that to happen to you today, consider yourself lucky.
God. Oh, Reverend Lovejoy. I
Yep.
feel like they did a good job of developing Lovejoy's character because a lot of I wouldn't say clergymen, but I guess priests. He's a priest, right? Well, he's a man of God.
Yep.
Um, they do a lot of counseling. They do help a lot in the community. I don't know how many of them have their dogs poop on one of their parishioners' lawns, but
Well, if you hate Ned Flanders that much, I could understand. If you're calling him in all hours of the night,
yeah.
absolutely.
But they, especially in this episode, Reverend Lovejoy was able to help Lisa with her dilemma, which is good. I know a lot of people like to use the Bible to help them make life decisions, and
Yep.
that's how you want to live your life. Good, as long as it's you feel like you're making the right decision. Good for you.
All right.
But where can people find us?
So people could find us on the social medias on Facebook, The Simpsons Did It page. On Instagram, The Simpsons Did It Pod. On Twitter, Simpsons Did It PC. So no The Simpsons Did It PC.
Yep.
You can email us at the Simpsons Did It podcast at gmail.com if you want to talk to us about anything. I'm also considering about opening up a Facebook group for Simpsons fans. I think it'd be kind of cool to get other people's inputs, not just our own.
I'm sure aren't there other Simpsons groups on the internet
There
or on
are, but we can
Facebook?
have a podcast group so all of our
There you
fans can
go.
talk to us. And I
So
can
look
start
out for
doing
that.
and I can start doing polls because apparently you can't do polls on Facebook pages, only groups. I learned that the other day.
Huh.
I also want to give a thank you to our good friends at 51 Yellow for developing our new graphic for our Facebook page. So if you've seen our Facebook page, you've seen me and Robert all yellowified. And 51 Yellow was the company that did that for
They
us.
did a
And
phenomenal job.
absolutely, we're going to post a video of how it was actually put together on
Yes.
our Facebook page, so you guys can see that. Right now, they're doing 70% off all new, basically contract artwork. Check them out. We're going to put their website up on our Facebook page, so you guys can just click the link and go. But if you guys want to be Simplified by yourself, your family and friends, pets, whoever, go check them out. They're amazing and they do
Yes.
a phenomenal job. It's all digital too, so they'll send you a digital copy. You could print it and basically do whatever you want with it. So go check them out. So until next time, I'm Steven Skolansky,
I'm Robert Skolansky.
and this has been The Simpsons Did It.
Shh.